If you are stepping into programming field, this is a common term which you might have heard about, APIs. Now in this particular video, we are going to discuss what is an API and we are going to understand what is the requirement of an API. Okay, first of all, the full form of API actually stands for Application Programmable Interface. Now what that means, we are going to understand, but let's try to understand why we needed API. So let's go back and let's try to understand what was the old approach. So let's say if I want to register in a particular website, okay, so obviously there is a database. Now for obvious reason, no website is going to give me the database credentials so I can register myself in their website. What they are going to do, they are going to give me an interface where I will have to put in my details. They will grab the details and they will save the details in the database. Very plain and simple and straightforward. Now the problem is this database is not open. What do I mean by not open? It simply means that almost not everyone can access it for a very specific reason. This is secured by a ID and a password. Now the problem is, if you're making a web application, it is very easy for you. You can create a front-end application. You can create a back-end application, and back-end application has the credentials to this particular database. Now the problem arises when you want to build another application, like let's say Android application, iOS application. Now either you have to use a web application or you have to use a certain different way, which is technically not possible here because there is no specific way to communicate with the database, because obviously you won't be actually downloading, or I should say putting your database credentials in these various Android application or iOS applications, because if someone breaks open them, they will be able to access those important credentials which are there to keep your database secured. Okay, so we understood what was the traditional way of doing things. Now let's try to understand what actually the problem it possesses. The problem was, let's say if our application is sitting in this specific database, I'm going to take the example of database because this is quite widely used. So this is something which is sitting there. Obviously it has its credentials, so it has its username, it has its password, which obviously cannot be shared. Now what we have to do, we have to create an application which is going to sit in the front end plus the back end. Now you cannot scale the application because everything is dependent on that particular database. Secondly, if you want to create a bigger application, every single request has to reach to this particular location, because this is a single database. Now if you're going to have multiple databases, again that is going to make your application complex. So the problem was we were stuck. We were stuck with the technology, and that is why we were not able to evolve, or I should say create multiple applications, or I should say applications which were available for almost everyone. Now let's try to understand how API works. Let's take a very simple example. You have your safe here, and obviously you have a lot of money in this safe. Now the problem is you are sitting in one location in your town. Now the problem is obviously you need some money. So what you will do, you will ask your friend to go to your house and fetch the money. But obviously, for obviously and secure reason, you are not going to ask him, hey, go to my locker, fetch some money and bring it back to me. Obviously, if you don't trust the person, this is going to be the scenario. If you trust them, obviously this is not going to be the scenario. So what will happen, instead of him accessing it directly, you will have a mediator. You will say, hey, go to my mom and just ask her, give you $100. You will ask your brother that, hey, my friend is coming, give him the $100. So what is happening? You have a person whom you can trust. So you're going to convey this person that someone is going to come, give them $100, which was required. Obviously, they are going to access this particular safe. Now, since you trust them, they are going to only take out the $100 which were required. Now, once they take it out, they will give it to your friend, and your friend will go to wherever he or she wants to go. This is a very simple trust model where you are actually using a person whom you can trust, so that a person who you do not know, who is not part of your family, who is not in your trust factor list, if I may, is able to get the message done, or I should say is able to transfer the message from one place to another without actually having the access to this specific location. And this is what APIs do. Let's say you want to build an API which can talk to a database of a certain company. Let's say you want to create an application which is going to see if a particular person has followed you or unfollowed you on Instagram in recent days. Now for that, Instagram is not going to give you the access to their database, because obviously that is going to create a huge problem. So what Instagram is going to do, Instagram is going to say, hey Avinash, you want to create an application from our side. So what you have to do, you go to a certain section which is usually a developers section. You go there, you create your API credentials with which we can verify that you are the person who is accessing this particular API. Now we will give you certain set of APIs, and now you have to make a request, and based on the API we will send you the data. So they actually send you the required amount of data. This is not limited to Instagram. This is also like you can also understand in terms of operating system perspective. Like let's say in a operating system, let's say if something can happen. Again, let's say if you want to save a file. So instead of giving you the access to the actual source code which is going to enable you to save the file, what operating system does, or what the various language platform do, they give you the access of the save file API. So with the help of that API, you are able to access the vital information without having the access of the secured, or I should say confidential piece of code. So this is how APIs work. They are known as application programmable interface, which actually becomes a communicator, or I should say a mediator between two people, the person whom they can trust and the person whom they cannot trust. So the information which is shared is absolutely limited, or I should say minimum. So that is it for this video, guys. In case if you have a question, put that in the comment of this video. And if you need a career guidance related to what is the right path for you, obviously in that case, there is a link which is given in the description of this video. Click that link, fill in the details, and someone from our team will assist you with your right career path.